welcome back to the Recovery Daily Podcast, friends. I'm your host, Rachel Miller, a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about freedom from guilt, the liberation that can be felt through honesty, willingness, and communication. Freaking communication and connection with people. And I'll tie this into the theme of admission that I touched on yesterday. So I wanted to start with a reflection. And I used to come home from work when I was still drinking. I used to come home from work with these travel wine boxes, like those 16-ounce little wine boxes. And there was a bunch of them under my car seat while I was driving, because I would drink them while I was driving home. I would drink them on the way home, and I would have additional ones that I planned to drink throughout the night after I got home. And when I was coming from my car into the house, I would hide them in my pockets, in my purse, and my backpack, and I would head straight in to the house and up to my room, into my closet, where I would change my clothes. It was like, like I was trying to put off this like urgent need to change my clothes, So I would go into my closet and I'd fill my knee-high boots, and I have a ton of them, or I did. They're diminishing over time. But I'd fill my knee-high boots with these travel wine boxes, and as I changed into my pajamas in the bathroom, I would drink 16 ounces of wine within like a 10-minute period, if that. And then throughout the night, I would find a way to go back into my closet and guzzle another 16 ounces. So it was like, a couple times that I would go hide away up in my closet. And I've talked about this before, how I would actually have the lights on in the hallway, the lights off in my bedroom and in my closet, so that if anybody was coming, I could see their shadow and I could quickly put the wine, tuck it back wherever I got it. So it was an obsession, and yet I thought nobody knew I was doing this. I mean, that's silly to even think that nobody could tell, but I was not in my right mind. And it was shameful behavior, and it made me feel guilty, but I did it anyway to protect my best interests, or more so, my addiction. So to free myself from guilt in this example, I had to, first of all, stop lying. I had stopped doing it, right? And I had to express my willingness to change and make it a new way of life. And to make it a way of life, I had to change everything about me. Luckily, my brilliant sense of humor and my good looks and my intelligence still fit me perfectly in sobriety. So, breathe a sigh of relief. I did not have to change those things. But I'm kidding. But I really did have to take a look at every piece of me to have this willingness to be honest, because why was I doing it to begin with? That was just a symptom of something else that was going on. And in order to get down to the causes and conditions, I had to first start with these symptoms, and I had to stop doing what I was doing. So freedom from guilt is interwoven with admitting our wrongs, stopping pointing fingers and casting blame on others, and obsessing over the wrongs that have been done to us. It is so freaking exhausting to live that way. And yet I thought it was the easier way. I thought it was easier for me to keep numbing myself with alcohol. But in fact, it was exhausting to have that level of obsession and changing everything I did in order to fit drinking in. So not only was it exhausting, was extremely unhealthy. A lot of, my nerves were shot. A lot of that anxiety that I was feeling was really a result of my behavior. And in fact, lately, I've been feeling the similar symptoms of stress and anxiety. And I'm all too familiar with those feelings. It's almost, I'm so familiar with them, it's almost hard to explain, but I can actually start feeling it underneath my skin. I can feel jumping in my nerves. I can feel my heart keeps palpitating, like it feels like it's skipping a beat or racing. Dizziness, all of these things that I used to feel when I would have a panic attack. I'm starting to feel hints of that starting to come back into my life. So I'm really happy that I've made my appointment for the psychiatrist. In this situation, it's not guilt or shame that is causing this stress or these symptoms in my body. It's really, I think, the fact that I've been trying to manage these health issues, but also life keeps happening anyway. And, doesn't life know that sometimes it needs to stop for us? Life doesn't stop for what I'm going through. Life doesn't stop for my grief. Have you ever lost someone that was so interwoven into the fabric of who you are that it seemed painful that the world didn't stop for him? That the world didn't stop when they passed. And I have. And this is one of the reasons why I'm going to the psychiatrist, one of the reasons, on Wednesday. So I think getting honest with ourselves by voicing with another person what's in our dark place, whether it makes sense or not, is the key to healing. So anyway, I've gone on a tangent. Let's get back to the topic, freedom from guilt. My situation today is a product of my own behavior, and I talked about that yesterday. All the things I can't control, people, places, and things, I need to release my grip on them because I'm wasting a lot of energy trying to push and pull them, and they just don't move. And to be honest, admitting my wrongs, my faults, was something that I avoided like the plague. I talked about that yesterday too. I hated to admit I was wrong. It made me feel like I was stupid or something or weaker. I don't know. That's just the correlation that I had in my head. And it's not pleasant. And nobody really tells you, though, that it's something that can be practiced and you can get better at it. You can get better at saying you're wrong. I didn't know you could do that. I just thought it was all about suffering. But there is growth in there. And as one of my friends in sobriety says, God lives there too. And by practicing my program, by really peeling away the pain, there's freedom waiting on the other side. By clinging to blame and getting caught up in the causes of my pain, I don't allow myself to heal. And it was only when I started to take ownership of my situation that I was in, being a product of my decisions, was I able to begin healing. And changing my attitude also has been pivotal. Changing my, so there's this one like admittance, and then there's this changing my long-term attitude. And by doing that, it really stopped this delay in gaining emotional sobriety for me. And it was not this smooth sailing at all. There were ups and downs in my willingness to accept my wrong, accept that I was wrong and make amends and all that good stuff. I think back to my days at work, and those were some of my low points, when I would blame others for holding back the progress of an organization as a whole. There are so many layers of teams at work, and I would somehow find a way to find the victim of my blame. That we didn't finish this as an organization or as a team, small team, big team, whichever team I was contributing to. We didn't accomplish this because this person didn't do that or that person didn't do this. And it's similar how I also used to take on responsibilities at work that weren't mine. I tried to cover for other people's shortcomings until I became overwhelmed. And I needed to take ownership of my own wrongs, my own problems, and my own failures, because sometimes I couldn't see those because I was so busy focused on everybody else's problems and what everybody else couldn't do. But not only do I need to take ownership of my own, but just as important, maybe even more important, I need to allow others, give others space to own theirs without my input. And the part about without my input is the most challenging. I love inputting. I love to give my 2 cents. And most often, it is critical to not give my input, to allow somebody to travel on their path without me trying to get involved, because their life is their life, their path is their path. Their path does not have to cross over mine, and they might have a more pleasant or a more appropriate path to growth if I get out of the way instead of trying to hold their hand and guide them down the path. And that's been a really amazing realization that I came to towards the end of my career last year or the year before. So what was driving that behavior, the blame game? I sat down and really got honest with myself. Like, why was I doing that? And this is what I decided, as really embarrassing as it is to say. I was seeking approval. I was chasing promotions, raises, and if I'm being totally transparent, I wanted to be seen as a leader, somebody in charge. And if I reflect on how this applies to all the phases of my life, I've always been seeking approval. I've been seeking approval from my dad, from my mom, from my sister, from my brother, my bosses, my boss's bosses, my boyfriend, and even my children. And isn't it amazing that a parent can actually seek approval from their own kids? And it's true. And I don't think it's weird. And I don't think it's deranged in the slightest. And I see it. The more I think about it, the more I recall seeing that happen, especially as our kids get into the college age, where sometimes you'll see these parents trying to be the cool parents and stuff. I feel like that's just um, another side of that, seeking approval from our kids. And once I see someone who has a quality that I want, it seems like I seek approval from them. I just do. But I continue to learn how to manage those feelings because I don't think it's healthy. Sometimes I think it's fine. I don't know that approval is the best way. You should be seeking approval, but it's fine really to kind of like when I entered into sobriety, they talk about you want what we have, like meaning the people who are already sober, you will see, and you're a newcomer, you will see the joy in their faces. You will see them laughing. You will want what they have. I think that is a healthy feeling, but constantly seeking approval from others, I don't think is a healthy way to live. So, even as a marketing director at work, I was probably overstepping in a lot of cases. I mean, I had a good relationship with my boss, and I feel like my boss's bosses, and they really were willing to put up with me. I think that there was a lot of it was me just wanting to be a part of strategizing. I love that part of work, but it was also very much me wanting things done my way. And I'm sure my boss saw that, but I don't know that my boss's bosses saw that. I'm not sure. And that's just not how it works. These missteps can inevitably lead to frustration and anger and destroy relationships and careers, both professional and personal relationships. I have seen people ruin their careers by doing this, and luckily I have had some wherewithal to stop myself before it destroys things in that way. And thankfully, my network of recovering alcoholics and stroke survivors and other role models I have in my life, they've been invaluable when I need to talk about stuff. And they've helped me see the truth about myself, understand my role, and own my stuff. And a lot of that is from my sobriety program. And this has been key in freeing me from guilt and the compulsion to justify my actions all the time. Man, I feel that way all the time. And I've really been putting a lot of effort into acknowledging when I feel that way and pausing. And just that pause has been super helpful because it allows me to, by the time I'm done pausing, I see that I shouldn't have said what I was about to say. So Anyway, this has been a habit that I have spent far too many years feeding, so it takes work to undo it, undo the habit. But I think my message to you today is this: to take ownership, not just of your actions, but your path to healing. Not just what have I done, what am I doing, but what do I plan on doing? How do I want to live? How do I want to be? And let go of blame and trying to direct the play, and just live in truth and surrender. Save your energy. Save all that energy for communicating this truth with people. That's where my serenity waits for me. It's in communicating my truth with people. When we face our faults with honesty, and that has to be tightly linked with courage. It takes so much courage to be honest, to face these secrets or things that we feel like maybe we shouldn't have done. And I just gave a small example, but I have a lot of deep stuff that I feel guilty about. I do. I feel guilty about it, and it takes a lot of courage to even look at it, much less talk about it. So when we face this stuff, we pave a way for a life free from guilt. So it's so much easier that way. It really is. It's so much easier. It's almost like living. It's like kicking back and living rather than just constantly trying to hack away at the weeds to like find your path. So thank you for joining me today for another episode of Recovery Daily Podcast. I will talk to you tomorrow.